Every year, the finalists for the Miss Cheerleader USA contest travel to this secluded camp.
Hey, there is no going back.
For some, it will be the crowning achievement of their lives.
I'm gonna win that queen contest.
Nerves are on edge.
There's something eating at everybody, right?
Ever since we've been here, it's never a good night.
Jealousies are exposed, and hatreds explode. This year, something evil has come over the contestants.
And she shows I'm gonna kill her.
The instructors,
You're a mascot, not a human.
the judges, and the hired help.
I hope you die.
Something is about to make them all victims of bloody pom-poms.
And start with Allison. She's so fine. Go look at her long or you'll go blind. Next is Pam. She comes out with a bam and will tell you this, she ain't no sham. Next is Bonnie. She acts kind of funny. She'll steal your heart, but not your money. Can't forget Teresa. She's got what it takes. Putting her on this team was no mistake. Last is Corey, and this is her story. She's our gator, you'll be seeing her later.
Bloody pom-poms. Betsy Russell, Leif Garrett, Lucinda Dickey, Laurie Griffin.
We gotta walk out of here.
It's at least 40 miles.
Finally, something to die for.
Welcome to the Blind Rage Podcast. This is Brandon Ford.
And this is Mr. Motor City, Jed Schaefer.
And this week we are doing the 1988 horror comedy Cheerleader Camp starring Betsy Russell, Leif Garrett, and Lucinda Dickey. And it's one of Jed's absolute favorite movies of all time.
Oh, yeah. Like... When I got finished watching with this movie, I reconsidered our Friday the 13th deal and was like, do I force him to watch Jason X?
Oh. All right, that's cruel and unusual punishment right there.
I called the Geneva Convention. I'll get off.
Good grief. All right, but before we get into the movie and the usual stuff, we're going to get the plugs out of the way quickly. I would like to encourage everybody to check out my books in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle editions on Amazon.com by going to the Amazon app, typing in Brandon Ford. There you'll also find my Amazon author page, which you can subscribe to in order to receive email notifications whenever I have a new release. I also have several titles in audiobook format on Audible, which you can find by opening the Audible app, typing in Brandon Ford. If you don't already, please follow me on Instagram at Writer Brandon Ford, on both Twitter and Letterboxd at Brandon Ford. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, suggestions, recommendations, feel free to email me directly at blindragepod81@gmail.com. Please don't forget to visit the official Blind Rage Podcast Facebook page to like and subscribe. Last and most importantly, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Blind Rage Podcast on your favorite podcasting platform. Jed, plug away.
You can find my podcast, The Gamer Parent Strategy Guide, on all of your favorite major podcast platforms. You can follow me on Twitter at GPSG Podcast. You can follow me on Facebook at The Gamer Parent Strategy Guide. Letterboxd, Jed Schaefer. I have a YouTube account and a TikTok account where I do periodical short videos ranting and shaking my fist at the air like a grumpy old man about video game news. Do those 2 or 3 times a week. Follow me somewhere, anywhere.
There you go. So before we get into cheerleader camp, have you seen anything worth noting?
I got a pair. One with a strong recommendation to avoid, and one movie that I know that you won't like, but it was such madcap fun.
Hit me.
Okay, so the bad one is a movie called Cheap Thrills. I saw this on Shudder. It's about 2 guys. One he's got a baby at home, and they're about to get evicted, and he loses his job the same day that they get the eviction notice, and he meets up with an old college buddy, and they're drinking at the bar, and there's a couple there, and the couple, it starts off very innocuous because they're celebrating the wife's birthday, and the husband's like, "Hey, I dare you $200. I'll bet you $200 to go over to that bar waitress and get her to slap you." And the guy's desperate for money, so he's like, "Sure, fine, I'll do it." And he goes over and he gets slapped. And then after a couple of things of doing that at the bar, they go home to the couple's house, and the bets start getting bigger. Like, my neighbor pissed me off because his dog took a dump in our yard, so please go break into their house and take a shit on their rug. And then it keeps escalating and getting more graphic and more serious and more illegal. It's a horrible, horrible movie. It actually made my bottom 10 of all time. Because, and yes, I do have a list on my letterbox of my worst top 10 movies I've ever seen. I believe Cheap Thrills was 9th. The reason it is so terrible, black comedy, and I mean like dark comedy, gallows humor. When you think of really good gallows humor movies like Heathers and The War of the Roses, Very Bad Things, Death to Smoochie, they all have an element of satire to them, where they take the subject and they take it just a little too far. Like it's absurd. Like the divorce in War of the Roses is so ridiculous, with them running over each other's cars and Michael Douglas pissing on the fish at the dinner party, and it's crazy. This isn't crazy. It's never played as a satire. It's played very straight, and that sucks out the humor. And then about 45 minutes in, this husband who's got this toddler at home, he's a very loving man. He's a very good husband. He just wants to be able to provide for his family. He takes $4,500, whatever the amount of money it is, to pay off the eviction notice. He takes that money to bang the guy's wife in front of each other. Like, the husband watches them have sex on the floor. And at that moment, you lose all sympathy for him, because now he has no moral boundary. He will do anything for money. He's a piece of shit. He just violated the sanctity of his marriage to protect his marriage. And so now you have a comedy that's not funny, a situation that's not satirical, and a hero that's no longer heroic. And then the other guy who's taking money is a complete shithole. He works for the mob as an enforcer and a debt collector. And it just keeps, and at that point, the movie just runs out of steam. It just becomes this dire, depressing, how far will these people debase themselves for money series of events, until it escalates to the worst possible conclusion.
That sounds terrible.
It is. I just sat there going, why? Why is this? Who enjoys this? It's not even that it's bleak. It's that it's so misanthropic. It's so cynical. It's just, angry after watching. Like, how fucking dare you try to make me care about anyone in this movie when all you could do was just humiliate everybody. It was so infuriating. So yeah, strongest. I cannot. If Letterboxd allowed a 0 rating, it would have gotten it. Like, half star is too generous for this movie. It is a steaming dumpster fire. On the other side, it's a movie called The Ice Pirates.
Okay.
All right. You take the 1970s version of Battlestar Galactica. Now add in, have you heard of a movie called The Apple?
No.
It is a musical from 1981 or 82. It is this weird biblical allegory about this brother-sister who get involved in the music industry, and the music industry is run by this cult. It's fucking bananas. It is the weirdest, most bizarre movie. I can't even explain it. So you take the Apple, but you take out the music and you combine that with Battlestar Galactica, but then you also take the screwball comedy of 80s comedies like Police Academy and buddy cop movies, and you layer all of these things together into this ramshackle road trip Star Wars type aspect, where you have the lead character, the captain, played by Robert Urich, and he's trying to be this suave Indiana Jones kind of, kills the ladies with a smirk kind of guy, but he can't. It's so baffling and bizarre, and it makes the weirdest choices, not the worst choices, just the weirdest choices at every conceivable turn. It ends with this trip through a time loop, or not a time loop, like it's puncturing the space-time barrier, and everyone starts rapidly aging during the final battle between the two armies, and hair starts growing long, and beards are growing long, and people are suddenly using walkers and canes, and it's so weird.
What the fuck kind of goofiness is this?
That's the whole beauty of it, though. It is so bizarre. It is an acid trip. There is nothing that makes any sense about it whatsoever. There's a scene where they knock over a box in a closet, because spaceships have closets now. And this little thing pops out, and it kind of looks like a worm, except for when the worm's mouth opens, a little face pops out of it that kind of looks like a skull. It's hideous. It's ugly as sin. And then they look it up in the space computer, and its species is called space herpes.
Oh.
And so now there's the joke that as this little worm is running through the ship and is multiplying, the ship has herpes.
Oh, no.
It's not a good movie by any stretch. It is not competently made. It is batshit insane. You'll sit there going, what? And you'll say what and why for 90 minutes straight. But it is so committed to its insanity. It never winks at you. It never lets you know that it's in on the joke. It plays, it's 100% committed to being insane without being clever about it. And because of that, it's so charming. I can't.
This isn't a new movie, right?
I can't explain why I enjoy it. All I know is that, like, my wife found it. She's clicking through HBO Max. She found it. She was like, "Oh, this would be a good movie to watch with Holden around." She clicks on it, and I'm 10 minutes in, and then I had to go somewhere. I don't remember where I went, but I looked right at her. I said, "You pause this movie. You do not watch this movie without me, because by God, this thing is beautiful." And it was. I can't explain it other than to say, if you just want to sit there with the most confused smile on your face, Maybe it's so bad it's good. Maybe it's that kind of thing. I don't know, but I spent 90 minutes with a permanent smile.
Well, you sound positively giddy talking about it, so
I love it. I'd never heard of it before, and it's just watching it was pure insane joy. Like I can't. There is no way to fully explain this movie because it ping pongs all over the damn place, but it's worth it.
And where can listeners find that? Oh, you said HBO Max.
Yeah, that can be found on HBO Max, and Cheap Thrills can be found in hell.
Okay. Well, I got one. I was going through the recent uploads to Audio Vault, where I download all my audio described movies, and I came across a movie from 1980. I hesitate to use the word slasher, but a sort of slasher called Don't Go in the House. Are you familiar with it?
Name rings a slight bell.
It's a really, really bad movie. It is about a guy in his. It's very. It borrows a lot from Psycho. It's about a guy who is in his mid-30s, who lives with his mother, who was abusive to him when he was a little boy, and her method of tormenting him was to lift him up and hold his forearms over a stove, and he has scars on his arms because of it. And he works in some kind of, I couldn't even tell you what it is, but he works with fire and furnaces and people who wear fireproof masks and such. And he comes home one day and he finds mother is dead. And so he immediately starts acting like a little boy and playing his music really loud and smoking cigarettes and jumping on the furniture. And then he gets this idea. He calls into work the next day, says, I can't come in, I have something to do. He gets a room and he starts insulating it with these metal sheets, makes it floor to ceiling metal. He gets this woman, brings her home, knocks her out with an umbrella holder. She wakes up naked and she's chained in this room, standing up. He douses her with gasoline and sets her on fire. And that's what he does for the duration of the movie. He just picks up random women, brings them to this room, sets them on fire, and talks to their charred remains. And in his head, he hears their voices as well as his mother's. It's very bad. And it's very poorly acted. Very poorly done. It was a movie that I attempted to watch a long time ago, but I couldn't get into it because it's bad. But when I came across it on Audio Vault, I was like, what? Because you don't find movies like this on there. And not only was it available in its theatrical, but it was also available in its extended cut. I was like, what the fuck? And at the end of the movie, the guy who did the audio description gave his name and his website, and I emailed him to see, where did this come from? And if he had done audio description for any other movies like this. And I also emailed Audio Vault to see where they got it. And turns out The Arrow just put it out on Blu-ray in February with the audio described version, and that's where it was taken from. And I emailed The Arrow and told them, how much I enjoyed the audio description, and it was refreshing to see finally somebody putting an audio description on a disc for a movie like this, because it's not done at all with these reissues. And I asked them if they had any plans to do more, and they said no, but they would pass my request along. And I also got a response from the guy who did the audio description, and he was very appreciative of my reaching out to him. And I was very complimentary in his audio description, which he had also written. And he was appreciative of that. And he said the inclusion of the audio description was included on the release at his encouragement. He kind of pressed The Arrow to include it, and they finally gave in. And he said he did one other movie for them, but it was a kung fu movie. And mostly what he does for them is a video restoration for the movies that they put out. And he's done some other audio description, but I think it's mostly TV stuff. But he said he would like to do more, but there really isn't a market out there right now for it. But I guess, the visually impaired are not requesting it. So, he said he would pass it along. I'm not really expecting anything to come of it. Because I did look at the Arrow's website at their upcoming releases, and I didn't see anything. But I'm hoping things will change, because it would be nice. It would be even better if the audio description was included for a better movie. But so yeah, I got to experience a terrible movie from one of my favorite eras with audio description, which was nice. So I'm just hoping that it'll become a thing, because it's certainly a I haven't seen as much as I would like, especially Italian. Like I would really like some audio description for some Argento stuff. That would be nice. And some slasher movies that slip through the cracks. And they're visually impaired people do like horror movies. And
Right.
So, yeah. Hoping, keeping my fingers crossed that maybe it'll become a thing. Maybe, because everything is fucking closed captioning. So if you have something for the hearing impaired, why not for the visually impaired?
Yeah, it only makes sense. I mean,
It
like you
only
said,
makes
it's
sense.
writing a script. It sounds like there's script writing involved, but there's technically script writing involved for closed captioning as well. I mean, there's not just what the people say, but there's also stage direction and you mentioned music cues and stuff like that, and sound effects. So if they could do that, they could do audio descriptions.
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard audio descriptions that they basically just do the bare minimum in that they just tell you exactly what's going on. The guy who did Don't Go in the House was particularly talented in that he used similes in in the way he described the fire and the smoke. So he really has a talent for it. So I'm hoping that he does some more stuff for the Arrow, especially since they've done a lot of really, really good releases and reissues of movies over the years for both the UK and US markets. So there's that.
Yeah. Complete useless humorous sidebar. Are you a Monty Python fan?
Not at all.
At the beginning of when Monty Python re-released Monty Python and the Holy Grail, like in a 2-disc deluxe edition, on the main menu they have a selection for how to put it, menu assistance for the hard of hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you click it in typical dry British humor, it's not assistance at all. It is someone yelling out the exact things that are on the screen. So it's someone going, play movie, select scene. It's quite humorous. If you like that dry British humor. Like, if you don't, but we're that.
Well, that would actually come in handy for me because a lot of the time I don't know what the menu. I just know to push play, so it's hard for me to find stuff with the menu. So with that, even though it's meant to be dry humor, it would actually be helpful.
It would, yeah.
I got a fucking a Blu-ray player that has screen reading abilities, and one would think that when you highlight something on the menu, it would tell you. No, it doesn't do that. It just tells you after you press it. So when you press play, a voice goes play, and it's the most robotic voice ever. It doesn't tell you what is in the special features or the scene selection or anything like that. Basically, when you select something and it starts playing, it just says play. So yeah, I got kind of bored of that pretty much immediately and turned it off. So that was a total waste of money. I even had to call Amazon to have them do research for me to find a Blu-ray player that had this feature, this accessibility feature. Found me one, and it was useless. And not only did it have to have the accessibility feature, that it had to be region free because I buy a lot of imports.
Right.
So, yeah. All right. So, I'm sure you are chomping at the bit for this one.
I'm going to try and hold back the worst of my my bile and be constructively critical, but no promises.
If we were watching Slumber Party Massacre, I'd be like, okay, watch your mouth. Okay, this is hallowed ground you're treading here. But we're watching Cheerleader Camp, so say what you will. It does not matter to me because, as I've said before, I recognize this as a bad movie. Did you? Well, I know the full movie's on YouTube, so you can watch it for free there. So there's that.
And I know where you were about to say of Where is it streaming anywhere else? The answer is no. I could not find it on. I can't even find it a listing for it on Just Watch, and Letterboxd does not have any streaming services that it lists that it's on. So this thing's a ghost.
I don't even think it has a Blu-ray, or does it? No, I don't think it does. I just have the DVD that Anchor Bay put out in 04. So, and there's not even any extras on it except for a trailer and the alternate opening with the Bloody Pom-Poms title, which is the worst title ever. I can't believe people actually prefer it to the Cheerleader Camp title. I don't like it.
It's, yeah, I mean, neither title's all that great, but at least Cheerleader Camp. Anything with pom-pom in it, I can't take that seriously.
No. All right. Here we go. So we're going to begin with a 3 count. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. Right out of the gate, we get some ominous piano music. And a pretty sweet title card, I have to say. I like it.
Nice Letterman jacket block letters.
Yeah. And I think the poster is pretty iconic. Although I never understood why the cheerleaders' boobs were bright red, like they were on fire almost.
Are they?
Yeah. She's jumping and it's like her legs are up and her sweater is kind of up, and you see a hint of underboob, and they're bright red.
Yeah, that is weird. And is that skeleton winking?
Probably.
It looks like it's winking because, like, the what would be the left eye or right eye from our perspective is like it's smaller, and it looks like it's winking. That's so bizarre.
Oh,
it's an odd choice.
Cheerleader Camp was a video store staple in the horror section in the 80s, I think. And it did play theatrically, very limited theatrical release, as Bloody Pom-Poms. And then when it got released on video, they changed it to Cheerleader Camp. I have essentially the same relationship with Cheerleader Camp as I do with April Fool's Day, in that I tried to watch both of them at least 3 times when I was in my younger years, like 11, 12, and I couldn't get into them. And I kept hearing from people who really liked both of them. And then when I finally finished them, I did enjoy them. Except in the case of April Fool's Day, it gets on my nerves so fucking bad. I can't watch it anymore because I think all of the characters are so unlikable and so obnoxious, and the story is so stupid. But with Cheerleader Camp, as bad as it is, I do find a quirkiness and a kind of a stupid charm to it.
I will say I can see why people, such as yourself, find that quirky charm. It is definitely it is unusual in its construction. there is some really weird, really awkward, like this whole scene. I mean, we're emphatically, almost angrily cheering at an empty stadium. It's a very odd movie the way that it's put together, and I could see people enjoying it. It did not connect for me.
Well, that nightmare sequence has been compared to Elm Street by a lot of people, especially with the blades and the pom-poms and that weird laugh, which is never explored or explained. I don't know what that was supposed to be other than Freddy-ish. But we have Betsy Russell here as our lead girl, and for this, she was in Avenging Angel and Tomboy and some other 80s movies. And then she ended up being in, I think, 4 or 5 of the Saw movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, she's one of the cops.
See, I just know, and I haven't even seen the movie I'm about to reference. I just know it from, I've seen the video clip over and over. She is in probably one of the, and here I go being a complete hetero pig now, one of the most iconic 80s nude scenes ever. The topless horse riding scene in Private School.
Yes.
Which, when I saw this and I saw her name came up, I went, oh, cool, Betsy Russell. She's hot. And then she never gets naked. It's like, again, let me be a complete pig here. The hottest girl in the movie by a wide margin. And how did you miss that?
But all the other girls do, so you got that.
Yes, and we get to see Fatty's bare ass right now. Such a bonus.
Oh, God. Yeah.
It's like looking at 2 fleshy peach-colored whales.
And it's disturbing the way it fills up the entire window.
Yes. So when I first watched this, did you watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers at any point?
I've seen it.
You know how there's always a pair of comic relief characters that aren't in the group?
No.
I've only seen a few seasons because kids, but typically there is at least 1, if not 2, characters that act as damsels, I guess you could say. They're buffoons, and they're always getting into trouble, and they always need rescuing by the Rangers. And there is one of them, I believe his name is Spike, and he's in multiple seasons, and he's a fat buffoon. And pretty much the joke with him is fatty fall down, go boom. And when I first saw this, I went, holy shit, it's a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers guy. I still think that even though, this character didn't come around for another 7-8 years after this, it still feels like this is the same damn guy. Because it's just, with the exception of him, this guy also being a sex pervert.
Yes! I mean, it's amazing when you look at these movies, when you look at primarily the sex comedies, but even a large number of slasher movies of the kind, there are things that you see that you can say, yeah, if you did that today, you would be serving 15 to 20. And a lot of it is what he does with the video camera. And we got Buck Flower,
which is just the weirdest out of the blue casting.
I wouldn't say that. Buck Flowers, he was like in every fucking thing. as the same character.
Oh yeah, Buck Flower plays one thing, and that's Buck Flower.
But did you ever hear him talk in his real voice?
No, I just assumed that how he talks in movies is his real voice.
No, it's not. That's just the character that he does in everything.
I'm scared. What's his real voice?
He sounds like a normal man. He just sounds not like a goofy redneck. He just sounds like you, pretty much.
Now I gotta search that out.
I've seen two examples. Well, he did a movie called Berserker, which is terrible. And he plays. He's doing kind of a Swedish accent poorly.
I've seen Berserker, but through Netflix, or not Netflix, through Rift Tracks.
Sounds about right. But he also did a movie in the early 70s called Criminally Insane, aka Crazy Fat Ethel, where he plays a detective, and he's got a small part in it, but he does talk in his real voice. So, and it's so jarring too, because I had no idea it was him until I read the credits, and I was like, "What the fuck? That was Buck Flower? Really?"
Yeah, because you're just so used to the gimmick voice. Like, do you remember in the 90s, the guy who was in the Slim Jim commercials, Randy Macho Man Savage? Snap into a Slim Jim?
Yeah.
I'm sure you knew he was a professional wrestler.
Sure.
He talked in that was an era, admission time, I'm an old wrestling fan. And back in the day, they lived the gimmick. Like, even off screen and out of the arena and away from the crowds, if they were in public for some reason, they lived the gimmick. And he lived the gimmick so long that he stopped being able to talk in his normal voice.
That's scary.
That Macho Man voice of, "Ooh, yeah," that became his voice. All the way up until he died, that's how he talked. It was bizarre.
That's kind of like moving to a foreign country and adopting the accent.
Yeah.
I always assumed that Duffman was kind of based on him.
I could see that. Yeah, there's similarities.
I think we've missed her. But,
what, the boob flashing?
Or no. Well, I was going to point out the actress who plays Pam, Terry Weigel, who started out as a Playboy model. And she was, I think, either the first or the only centerfold to go on to do hardcore.
First, not the only, but definitely the first. There's been a few more.
Yeah, and in the Far From Home commentary, which she's in, I talk a lot about her story, yeah, I never knew that was her, because there's a scene of her having sex in a trailer, and she has no lines or anything, and it was around the same. It was actually a year after this, yeah, I didn't know that was her. And then I went down this whole wormhole and read her whole biography. And apparently, yeah, if you are a Playboy model and you go on to do hardcore, they completely disassociate.
Yeah, they were pretty strict about that. Like they had this weird view that if you're a Playboy, you're family, but you can only ever be that, and you do anything else outside the family, and it's almost like mafia.
The
in a
mafia.
way. A very nude bunny themed mafia.
Yeah, you never go against the family.
And she's not the only Playboy model in this movie. The actress who plays Teresa, Rebecca Ferrati, is also a Playboy model. So this movie is just full of it.
Well, it's full of fake boobs.
Yes.
So, I'm trying to think if Terry had implants at this time.
They looked implanty.
Because she started to do porn in 91, and I thought that was when she got them. It's interesting with porn. If you could be large breasted, but a lot of women are not considered to be busty enough for a box cover. So they get implants just so they used to be when people still bought porn in physical form. But that's why Jenna Jameson got implants. She already was large breasted, and she asked, how come I'm never on a cover? And they said, because your boobs aren't big enough. And then she got implants that were too big for her body, just so that she could be on a cover.
I did not know that. I was never a fan of hers.
I've heard that from other straight guys. Apparently she has a certain technique that is off-putting.
I just never found her visually appealing. Like, I'm not a blondes guy.
Right.
It's the rare blonde that that makes me turn my head. And she was not an exception to the rule. She was, even in the 90s, she was very plastic, and she looks like even if she wasn't a porn actress, she looks like a porn actress. Like, she just has this, I don't know, not unwholesome, because wholesome is such a judgment. It's just
say it. She looks trashy.
Yeah, fine. All right, there you go. Trashy. She looks trashy. I was struggling to find a word, but that is the perfect word. She looks trashy. As an old friend of mine would say, I wouldn't fuck her with a stolen dick.
Oh my god. I actually read her book.
Just the idea of her writing a book.
Well, it's more pictures than words. I'll say that.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, I know that she's a businesswoman, and I'm sure you can hear the air quotes that I'm making. But like back in the day, all the porn actresses had websites and were businesswomen. I didn't mean you could write a book.
Well, She, I don't know. I don't think she's doing so great now because she's of a certain age and
I thought I read something recently that she's like paralyzed from the waist down.
oh my god.
Yeah, something like spinal injury or
Jesus. Now you should feel awful for saying she looks trashy.
Guillain-Barré. She has Guillain-Barré syndrome.
What the hell's that?
I don't know the specifics of it. I just looked up Jenna Jameson paralysis. It's a rare autoimmune disorder in which a person's own immune system damages the nerves, causing muscle weakness and sometimes paralysis. She says she has been hospitalized and unable to walk after being diagnosed with Guillain-Barré, and that was back in January.
Oh, God. That's terrible.
That is an unfortunate...
She's kids.
Yeah. That is an unfortunate turn of events.
Okay. On to happier subjects.
Right.
Brent was with that girl today.
So, like, what's his face? Jimmy McNichol from Nightmare Maker. Leif Garrett also had his teen heartthrob thing going in the... It was in the 70s or the early 80s?
70s, I believe. Maybe it stretched into like the very early 80s, but I think it kind of died out when disco did. So what, 80, 81, 82, and 80 at tops?
I've never even heard him sing.
I might have in passing.
Oh, God.
You know what makes this part even harder to deal with is that it doesn't just cut. It slam cuts. It fucking guillotine cuts from her bleeding, a dream sequence of her bleeding all over her face to this with, what the fuck, Buckflower? What the hell is that? Just no elegance whatsoever. It's just slams one scene to the other.
Oh. This is just embarrassing. I mean, it's almost as embarrassing as when Zach Mars rapped or attempted to.
The rapping is so bad, they make the rapping granny and wedding singer look like NWA. And what? Why? Why are all the mascots trying to eat through their heads? Like, is this your first time wearing these things?
Well, they have to live as the mascot to be the mascot. They're in mascot training camp. The cheerleaders are training to be cheerleaders. They're trained to be mascots. And as mascots, they're seen as second-class citizens. And for a cheerleader camp, there really aren't that many cheerleaders. So I don't even know where exactly they're... And I have never been to a cheerleader camp, but I would assume that the mascots don't go.
I would think not. Yeah, like
no.
You're not really doing routines, or if there's anything routine-like that you're doing, it's certainly not integrated into the cheerleading routines.
No, basically just all the mascots do is just like run around while the cheerleaders are doing their routine. It's not something that requires a lot of skill.
No.
But with this, with the cheerleading, which Lucinda Dickey choreographed, and it's not very good. Because I don't even remember them being in sync when they were doing their routines. But it just... I think if this were a bigger budget movie, it might have benefited them to do... Did you ever see that movie Sugar and Spice?
No.
You know, are you familiar with it?
Don't think so.
It's a silly comedy where this high school cheerleader gets pregnant, and her parents and her boyfriend's parents want nothing to do with her. So her team decides that they're going to rob a bank to get money for the baby.
As you do.
As you do. But none of the actresses in the movie have any kind of training, even dance training. But so when they're doing a cheer, it's in the gym and the camera's like 7 miles back. So you see these doubles doing all these very intricate flips and piling on top of each other, and then the camera just cuts to the actresses like clapping and going, yeah, yeah. And then it cuts back. We're 7 miles away, where the actual skilled cheerleaders are doing things. So even with this one, if you would have filmed the girls from behind so that you didn't see their faces, like actual girls with some sort of training who could do something, I think it might have been beneficial.
I looked up Sugar and Spice. This is an interesting cast. Marley Shelton, Marla Sokoloff, and Mina Suvari.
Yeah, James Marsden.
Rachel Blanchard, Melissa George, Sean Young. What?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Kurt Loder. Oh, as himself. Okay. Still, what an odd cast. I'm almost intrigued.
It's a fun movie. I like it.
Damn it! I think I'm putting this on my watch list.
I don't really think that Marla Sokoloff ever got the proper... She never really popped. And I always enjoyed her.
Agreed. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I always found her to be... she didn't get the credit that she really should.
Mm-mm. Do you know she's a singer?
No, I did not know that.
And she put out a record independently. It's pretty good, too.
What kind of music?
It's rock, pop. She's got a really good voice.
Why is he in camo?
Mad Dog goes right to the ball. He jumps. He times the jump early. Oh! He's got the ball. Oh! No stopping him when he gets up ahead of steam. Come on, Mayo. Come on, Mayo. He's coming downfield straight on.
I remember watching this and just being speechless at this scene. Like, what the hell?
I don't know what to say now.
This just goes on for way too long, and it's disturbing as hell. And
it's very uncomfortable.
Holy shit!
Oh God. He's one of the producers, isn't he?
Is he?
I think.
Come on, go for the extra point.
Go for the I'm just not going to comment.
Pettyman or something his name is? Something like that.
You know you're gonna go to hell for lying like that? This unit's gonna give me the head.
Back up again.
Besides, if God didn't want me to do this, he wouldn't have made washcloths. Yeah, or teeny weenies. Hey. This is not to make it.
Thank God for Letterboxd and its cast
Oh,
list.
yeah, sure it is.
Jeff Prettyman.
Prettyman.
Yeah, he's a producer.
See, that's how he got the role. He hired himself.
Hey. Who else are you going to trust to do the job but yourself?
I thought Leif was very cute here. I think the receding hairline is a good look on him.
Am I thinking of someone else, or didn't he pass away?
Did Leif Garrett pass away?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I must be thinking of someone else. One of those 70s teen heartthrob idols.
Oh, I think you're thinking of David Cassidy.
Could be.
Yeah, Leif Garrett tried to do the acting thing after his music career fizzled out, and it didn't go so well. He did another oddball movie called Party Line, where he and his sister, they had kind of a weird incestuous relationship, and she would call this party line and lure men, and then the two of them would kill them for some reason. I don't know. They were rich. They came from a very wealthy family, and they lived in like Beverly Hills, so I don't think it was for the money. I think they were just disturbed. I don't know, but it was very strange.
Sounds it. I know that in one of the aughts, he did a lot of VH1 reality.
He did, yeah.
Like Surreal Life and maybe Celebrity Rehab, stuff like that.
Well, he definitely did have a problem at one point. I don't know if he was, because he had that famous thing where I think he was driving drunk with his friend, and his friend ended up being paralyzed. They crashed, and his friend ended up being paralyzed.
Was that him?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've heard a few of those stories with celebrities, because I want to say it happened. Suddenly we're referencing a whole bunch of wrestlers in this episode. That happened with Hulk Hogan's son. He got, I don't remember if he got drunk and it did it, or if he was just drag racing, but him and his buddy were speeding and he ended up totaling his car, and Nick Hogan walked away virtually unscathed, and his friend is now in a wheelchair. And God, that's the second time paralysis has come up in this episode. This is a weird themed episode that we're having by accident.
Well, I remember VH1 did a special, because they are like the channel equivalent of Dr. Phil in that they exploit everything.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a special where he was reunited with his friend for like the first time after the accident, to apologize to him.
I think I remember that. Yeah, I do remember seeing the promos for that because I remember. I'm ashamed to admit we did watch Surreal Life.
Well, I didn't watch it faithfully, but I did watch some of it here and there. It was really sad.
First season or two, I think we watched, and then the gimmick wore thin real quick. It's like, oh yeah, celebrities in a house, they're fighting. All right, let's move on.
That's not true. You're supposed to be my boyfriend, but you haven't been acting like it lately. Even Pam's starting to get ideas about you.
Yeah, he does have a receding hairline, man. That thing is in full retreat.
How's that?
All right, so are they supposed to be in high school?
I don't know.
Because I don't care who you are. Leaf Garrett ain't passing for a high school student. What is this, 87?
88.
Yeah, he was a high school student in like 78.
What have I been doing?
Treating me like dirt.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk when you feel better, huh?
Fine.
Again, goes back to what we were talking about earlier about 80s movies and a lot of the things that they did that you just can't get away with now. One of them is whatever the hell he is to the cheerleading team. What is he supposed to be to the cheerleading team?
Isn't he a mascot? Isn't he the chicken or something?
If he is, he never wears it.
Good night, Allison.
I thought the chicken was for one of the other teams.
Well, there's definitely a substantial number of holes in this plot here. So, it's kind of hard to decipher what the fuck is happening a lot of the time.
Especially with the movie's liberal use of really odd dream sequences.
Yeah. They're very David Lynchian. And that weird laugh, again, which is never explained.
Something else that struck me when the first time I watched this movie, and it's a pet peeve of mine in teen movies, which appeared here strangely, is that, and I know this is a limitation of Hollywood because Hollywood is going to cast handsome and beautiful people. That being said, when they cast someone who is obviously cute, at least cute, if not pretty or hot, in the role of social outcast or geek or outsider, and they make no attempt to actually make them look like that. And I'm talking about the girl who plays the mascot character.
Lucinda Dickey.
Yeah, she's cute.
Yeah, she's very pretty.
Yeah, I would not kick her out of bed for eating crackers.
I don't think she's considered an outcast because she's not pretty. I think she's the outcast because she's a mascot.
Right, but that's my point, is that why is she a mascot? I wouldn't believe that she would be given the mascot role in high school.
I think you're right, because I used to work with a girl who was a mascot for her high school. Let's just say she didn't look like Lucinda Dickey.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. Like I said, you see it a lot more in teen movies.
What?
Stuff like She's All That, and
I don't want this to be a one-time thing.
I'm blanking on other ones, but there's always, you know, an odd girl. Oh, 10 Things I Hate About You. The friend that loves Shakespeare. Not that she's drop dead gorgeous or anything, but she's a pretty girl. There's no reason for her to be the weird one, and yet she's labeled as that. It's just, it's odd that they'll cast someone out of type like that and not even make an attempt to justify it visually.
I've had about enough of this bullshit.
Wasn't Mandy Moore considered the outcast in A Walk to Remember?
Sort of. But God, it's been so long since I've seen that. If I remember correctly, it was an outcast, but in the way that kind of like Belle is in Beauty and the Beast, where she's smart and she's not, you know, like she's an outcast not because she's weird, but she's above everyone else. Maybe, I don't.
She doesn't have any social skills.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen A Walk to Remember. I just remember it's very, well, it's a Nicholas Sparks story, so it's very weepy. And
yeah.
I don't even know how I saw it. On cable or something, and it was obviously it was a wife pick.
I think I rented it when it first came out. It was fine for one viewing, and that was it. I think she's a very credible actress. I thought she did very well in that, and it was her first movie.
Yeah, she did fine. I like Mandy Moore as an actress. I've never watched anything that she's been in and thought that she was bad in it.
No. Mm-mm. Even the movies that she's in that I thought were bad, I thought she did a good job in.
Yeah. I'd say the thing that she was miscast in was music. Like, she was obviously an attempt to farm another Britney, and it just didn't fit.
Well, I love my Britney, but she doesn't have the strongest voice. Mandy does have a really good voice, and she did sing live. I just don't think that you're right. The pop princess thing didn't suit her. And she has said publicly that she's very embarrassed about Candy and all those songs that she did when she was 16.
I can't blame her. They were very transparent attempts at reproducing Britney and Christina and the pop princess ethic. And they have some novelty value, I suppose, if you like that kind of music and you're in the right mood, or you're, I don't know, drunk karaoke or something. But yeah, if I were her, they wouldn't be my proudest moment.
Pam's not here. Even if I was with Brent and wanted to take my own sweet time, Tonight is
It took me the longest time when I first watched this to recognize the girl from Teen Wolf.
Honey on her muffin.
Oh god, honey on her muffin.
I like kept staring at her, going, "I know her. I remember her," because she's unusual looking. Like something about the way her face is set is a little different. Kind of exotic in a way, and I can't describe it. Then I kept looking at her going, I remember her. I know that face. And then I looked it up and went, oh shit. It's the chick from Teen Wolf. She's playing the complete opposite of her character in Teen Wolf.
Who was she, his girlfriend or something?
She was the bitch that, she was like the super popular bitch that Michael J. Fox's character lusts after the entire movie, and she doesn't like him until he is revealed as a werewolf, and he's using it to win the basketball game and surf on the tops of cars and you know, and just be awesome. And she doesn't like him until then, and that's when he realizes that she is a mean-spirited user and
He had a bad dream.
goes for the nice girl.
Allison, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to joke about your dreams like that.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen Teen Wolf, but
With your looks, you have no worries about
I remember that. I remember her just being the absolute, the most stereotypical high school bitch character.
I told you, nothing.
What'd you try to do to her?
The only parts I remember, because I've seen it like maybe 2 or 3 times when I was a kid. The only parts that I remember are, of course, the surfing on top of the van. The part where he finds out his father's a werewolf too. And my favorite part, I think, was when he tries to buy the keg, and the guy won't sell it to him, and his voice changes. Give me a keg of beer. And then he grabs his tasty cake. And these.
Nothing really sells the intimidation quite like after that. Yeah, reaching for whatever it was, look at the snack cake and Twinkies. The only other part that I remember is the basketball game. He ends up doing a front flip slam dunk.
Oh god.
Yeah, like a full on. He jumps up and he does a full somersault in midair and slam dunks, and it's like, unless you're in a slam dunk contest, that is the most preposterous and impossible thing to pull off in the middle of a basketball game.
Yeah, I don't even think Jordan could do that.
No. Hell, I only have seen it be done whenever I've seen it done because I've been to a couple of Pistons games. The mascot will do it in like the pre-game warm-up or during the halftime show, but he uses a trampoline and they have crash mats under the, in the key right underneath the hoop. So even then, it's still a move that is insanely protected because there is so much that could go wrong with that.
No, I don't, Brett.
Are you jealous, or did you just have another bad dream?
Look.
Oh, and I remember the extra who has his fly undone in the end.
If we hurt, she might be dead.
Yeah, and you can't even get that anymore. That version.
Yeah, and then they like digitally edit it out or something.
Yeah. The only way to see it is on the old VHS. I don't think they ever found out who that guy was, but they said they did. He was going to be in a lot of trouble.
And well, if we think we can, and we think we can.
35 years later, I can't imagine what they're going to do to him now.
Sure, right. I don't know. Maybe she's right. Maybe we can pull this together without Pam. Maybe we can find the guts deep within inside of us to pull us through to victory. What do you say? Victory! 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 Let's do it! Do it! Do it!
Are you drunk?
There's a reason There's a reason he didn't succeed as an actor.
Whatever could you be talking about? And they're just going on with their cheer despite the fact that, what, 2 of their team members? Well, one of them's vanished, and the other one is dead and was being kept in a freezer up until just like a day ago. But they're performing. So.
Yeah, because the fucking owner of the camp, I don't know which she is, Mrs. Tipton, put her there because...
Because that's
she didn't want any scandal. She didn't want any scandal until the camp was over. She didn't want anything to scathe practice, because God knows how important cheerleading is. It's better than human life, for God's sake.
Yeah, a cheerleader camp that's only got 4 teams at it. But they're like, yeah, we can still perform. Everything's okay. We're not really bothered by the disappearance of 2 of our teammates.
So, girls, think royal thoughts.
All right, girls, at least we get the queen contest still, right? We can save some face. When are you girls going to win this for us?
This is not a camp for clowns.
On the same website I told you about, where I found out about the sequel to Pieces, he also did a search, because there was a rumor for a while that there was a sequel to this that was never finished. And I remember him doing some sleuthing, and I don't remember how, but he found it. And it actually, he was actually the reason it got put out on DVD. But it was originally titled Millennium Countdown, and then it was retitled Camp Fear. And it started out as a sequel to this, and then it was rewritten in something different. But Betsy Russell's in it. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's really bad.
So is it actually officially finished, or did they just cobble together?
It's finished. It's finished, but they rewrote the script during production. But it was originally supposed to be Cheerleader Camp 2.
Okay.
But then they decided not to go ahead with it.
At first, I was having I was envisioning like Sleepaway Camp 4.
He actually found that too.
And that should have, I've never seen it, but from what I understand, that should have been kept in a deep, deep vault.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, because what is out there is very, very rough. They're essentially dailies.
Right. Dailies built around a clip show.
Well, that he put that together later. He used the production footage and then tried to make some kind of linear storyline by using clips from the first 3 movies. But what originally happened was, Sleepaway Camp 4 was announced in Fangoria in like 92, and it never came out, and nobody knew what had happened. And John, being that he was like, you know, one of the biggest Sleepaway Camp guys and ran the website, made it his mission to find the footage. And he found the raw production footage, and when the Sleepaway Camp Survival Kit came out in 2002, there was an extra disc if you got it at Best Buy with the production footage on it, and all the different takes of the same stuff.
Timmy, hang Hang with the girls.
And there's really not much in that footage that shows what the movie was going to be, except that there's a girl in the woods who's being stalked by a deranged forest ranger, and that's it pretty much.
Yeah, I've never actually even seen 2 or 3. Dude, I only saw the first Sleepaway Camp like a few years back.
Okay.
Somehow I missed
Hang your head in shame now. Drop it.
I will admit, I did get around to seeing the original, and I appreciate it for what it is, even if it's batshit insane. 2 and 3 just looked a little too in on the joke for me.
Well, they're dark comedies, yeah. They're very different.
Yeah, I know the tone is like a hard left turn. But 4... Never heard anyone say a kind word about 4, but it's also kind of circumstantial because it's basically a jigsaw puzzle that was kind of forced together.
Yeah. Yeah, it was basically fan service. John put it together himself and distributed it independently. Because like self-publishing books, Amazon has a service where you can distribute movies on DVD and CDs. So that's how he distributed it. And he took what he thought were the best moments from the production footage and wrapped it around the footage from the first 3 movies. And he tried. I mean, with what he had, I can't say it's good. But also he didn't really have much to work with.
That is very much true.
From what I remember, the 4th disc that came with the set was 45 minutes long, and a lot of it is, like I said, multiple takes of the same thing. I remember there's one of the forest ranger poking out from behind a tree to like see where she's going, and you see that like 4 times, and it's the same exact thing. There's footage of her sunbathing in a bikini, her being chased. Not a whole lot of dialogue.
Isn't there narration?
No.
I thought there was narration or voiceover or something. I could be thinking of something else. Probably am.
No. If that were to be done, it would have been in post. But they didn't get far at all before they ran out of money. And Double Helix, the production company who had the rights at the time, went under.
It's one of slasher movies' many what-if stories. Movies of, what if they had been made, or what if they'd been made differently. Like,
yeah, and it's kind of the same too. What if Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 went along with Felissa Rose as opposed to Pamela Springsteen?
Right. I see that she attended the Prometheus School of Running Away from Things.
Right. Yes, that's what you do.
You know, something's coming at me and it's traveling in a straight line. Run away in a straight line. That always works.
Don't worry.
Isn't this the scene where there's a tree right there that she could have went behind?
Yeah.
And instead she goes past it.
Yeah, just stop in front of the tree and let the van hit me. This is a great strategy. The band that plays at that party. What the hell?
I don't know.
Who went? Yes, cheerleader camp. 90% of the attendees are going to be female. That's just how cheerleading works at the high school level. The perfect band to play would be a Misfits cover band.
I'd rather have the Misfits.
I thought she's with you, Brent.
No, she wasn't, okay?
Probably still not the band that you want for the audience, but at least it would be authentic. Huh.
Well, by saying I'd rather have the Misfits, I'm not saying that I actually like the Misfits.
It's a very narrow audience that does. Let's be real. And I am not one of them. Never saw the appeal.
Oh God, I gotta get my hands on a copy of Veronica.
Veronica?
Yeah, Glenn Danzig's movie that's supposed to be so painfully, ridiculously bad.
Glenn Danzig made a fucking movie?
Well, he made another one after that.
Dear God.
That's a Western.
Oh, dear God. God, that's a war crime.
Look, she's probably back at the party dancing in the line of salad.
That man is so far up his own ass.
Oh, yes. Quite.
There's a sick part of me that wants to see it, and yet I am positive that any movie that is made by Glenn Danzig will make The Room look like an Academy Award winner.
That's about right. And this is based on how it was described to me in the many reviews I heard on several podcasts. Because at the time it came out, The Fanatic had just come out. So those two movies were what every horror movie podcast were talking about. And The Fanatic, as bad as it is, is at least entertaining on a really stupid level. But yeah, I've heard front to back descriptions of Veronica, and it's on. Well, it was at that time free on Prime, and I just listened to it because, of course, there's no audio description. And it just sounds absurd. And one of the major things that sticks out to me that everybody would talk about in these reviews is it's because it's an anthology. And in the first story, there's a guy who's supposed to be a spider for some reason, and I think he's got a man's head, but he's got a spider body with 6 arms, and the 6 arms are just 2 fake arms that are tied with string to his own arms, and the effect is very, very bad. And there's a girl with nipples, eyes for nipples, and I think the Spider-Man cries on them, or she cries on them, and the tear turns her into something. It just sounds so goofy.
I'm reading the description for it on Wikipedia. It's a lot. I might need therapy after this. This is a lot. It's available on Shudder.
I think you should watch it.
You must not like me very much if you're suggesting that. And yet, I honestly admit there is a sick part of me that's wondering.
Well, it's interesting to see something so absurd made by something who takes himself so fucking seriously and thought he was making a masterpiece, literally.
The cast.
Oh, they're all porn stars.
A lot of porn stars. One ex-professional wrestler. That's come up again in this podcast. This is so damn weird. Courtney Stodden.
Porn stars and wrestlers.
And maybe the only legitimate actor here. I don't know. But it's the only name that I recognize as a mainstream actor. Sean Kanan. Who played Karate Kid 3. He was Mike Barnes, the evil businessman's henchman, main karate guy in the tournament.
Oh, the one who's in this season of Cobra Kai?
Well, I hadn't gotten that far yet, but I'm assuming. Damn you!
I thought it's like right in like one of the first couple of episodes.
Yeah, we're through 6 and he hasn't popped up yet.
Did you find out anything
I'd heard he was coming anyway, so don't feel bad.
Had way too much to drink. I don't think
But yeah, that is the one. I mean, there's a couple of other names. No, she's a burlesque actress. I have no idea who the hell that guy is. Kansas Bowling? Oh, Kansas Bowling. Sure, never heard of her. She's really young. Yeah, this is... Oh! Caroline Williams is in it. She played Stretch in Texas Chainsaw 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sean Kanan and Caroline Williams are your two big names. Unless, porn. Glenn Danzig, that's a hell of a cast.
Yeah, and there's like a girl who's like supposed to be an Elvira Vampirella type character. I think she is Veronica. And she comes on in between the segments, and she really doesn't even say anything clever. It's like, so that's that story. On to the next one. And then she walks off screen and that's it. Oh god. And here we have the Misfits cover band again. Oh. I was getting into that.
I'm reading the reviews section of Veronica and, oh man. Quote, follows in the tradition of Ed Wood and Tommy Wiseau. Multiple publications compared it to The Room. There's a lot of Room comparisons from a lot of... Patrick Bromley of Bloody Disgusting. The audience reaction at Cinepocalypse suggests that Veronica has a future as a midnight movie in the same vein as The Room. There's plenty of entertainment and laughs to be had, even if I'm not sure it's what director Danzig originally intended.
No, I remember reading something or hearing something about him going to one of the screenings and like the audience was dying with laughter and he was not happy. Because he didn't even try to do what Tommy Wiseau did, which was, oh yeah, I meant to do that. No, he got mad. Because this was supposed to be a serious endeavor.
This may be the best quote from the AV Club. Funny on a level that most comedies can't achieve. It's that rare fusion of painstakingly expressed love and total lack of ability that deliver the best of bad cinema, and Glenn Danzig should be proud. Oh God, I'm going to end up watching it, aren't I? I mean, I sat through movie 43, so... on purpose.
And it's pretentious in the dumbest possible way.
Again, like Danzig.
There, yeah.
We gotta walk out of here.
It's at least 40 miles.
You got a better idea?
What about the killer? We can't stay here.
You know, I'm starting to feel like the little kid at camp. I want to go home and I want my mom.
She's still wearing her tiara. God bless her.
I don't know how far we are from it, but there's a scene that includes one of my biggest pet peeves in movies in general. When let's just say the plump fellow videotapes himself peeing, and then the characters later survey the footage, and it's a completely different take.
Yes. Oh, I hate that so much. It always stands out when I see it and it's not the same. It's just like this glaring nails on a chalkboard problem.
It's done so often, too often, that I think it's an on purpose thing, and I don't know why. And the same thing with they didn't really have answering machines in movies anymore, but it used to be the thing where you would see somebody leave a message on the machine, and instead of actually taking the audio of that scene and like distorting it somehow to make it sound like it was coming out of the answering machine, it would just be a totally different message, and the cadences would be different, and sometimes the messages themselves would be different.
Mm-hmm. And it just seems so easy to, like you said, take the footage, whether it's an audio thing like that, take the footage and distort it, or if it's a video thing, have an extra camera in the position that you want in this, you have the camera for our purpose of viewing the scene, but then you need to have a camera in the position where whatever is supposed to be filming it within the movie's universe, filming it. It's not hard. Like,
it needs to get out. It needs
like the one that always sticks out to me the most, the one that's burned into my memory the most, is RoboCop. Where
Why'd you run off like that?
During the scene where he confronts the executive that kills the other executive, and the executive's admitting it, he's going, I killed Bob Morton because I made a mistake. Now it's time to erase that mistake. RoboCop's crawling on the ground and he's trying to get away. And he's moving constantly, and the executive's saying it with a lot of bluster and gusto and kind of like mocking anger. And RoboCop records it. And then later on, when he's showing that evidence to the CEO of Omnicorp, it's this static one shot of the executive saying it as if he's talking directly into a camcorder, and he's just like, I killed Bob Morton because I made a mistake. Now it's time to erase that mistake. That's so not obviously the same scene.
I mean, that must be Pam. He killed her. He did
I'm glad I'm not the only one that gets rage like that about little production things like that. But that one especially. I always like my wife will always just go, "It's a movie, honey. It's not a problem." It's like, no, it is a problem. It's a continuity problem.
Yeah.
All I found was the camera. Why is he joking around now? Look, maybe she watches. Maybe there's something on this.
Oh, yeah. Let's watch the tape and watch a completely different take of Timmy peeing.
Not to mention, we're being chased by a serial killer. We don't know where he is. Let's stop and watch a video.
Make it a blockbuster night.
I like this too.
You don't-
How it cuts to what's obviously a more cinematic angle.
Get that bastard. Secure that door so we can only come in this way.
And now we go into the Nancy Thompson trap setting montage. Because suddenly all these cheerleaders are fucking MacGyver.
Oh, no.
Gotcha, you bastard!
Thank God it's over.
I really would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for this movie, just sitting next to the director, because there are so many weird acting choices by everybody. By Betsy Russell,
Yeah.
by Leif Garrett, by everyone. And I would just love to hear the director be like, yeah, no, that's the take. That's the one right there. Don't act like a human being. Act completely weird. Yeah, that's... React to seeing someone get hit in the face with a bear trap with the same kind of surprise as, you got me the pink sweater instead of the blue one?
I would be willing to bet that this director was a total Danny Steinman and he just didn't care.
That could be.
And that would explain a lot of the completely nonsensical dialogue. There are so many lines and exchanges with the characters that makes no sense. And their attempts at quips or one-liners, and they don't work. So that says to me that the actors forgot their lines and just wanted to say something, and the director just said, all right, cut, print.
I'm wondering too if it also wasn't a like this isn't exactly a high budget super blockbuster movie. I'm wondering if it was kind of like a, we don't have the time or the budget for 7 takes type thing. Yeah. Do it once. Okay, you fuck up. You do it a second time. Close enough. Let's go.
Yeah, with movies like this, if you got 3 takes, you're lucky.
You said all the words. You may not have said all the words right, or had the right emotion, or the right facial expression, but you said all the words. That's enough.
Or you said words.
Yeah.
So that should work. Maybe we'll fix it in post.
What's post? And now, of course, because you just killed what you believe to be the serial killer, let's hang out by the fire and have a glass of champagne.
As you do.
As you do. Such a bizarre movie.
Brett, you're drunk.
He's drunk? Didn't he just have one glass?
Yeah. Wasn't Tiara Girl just sitting there a moment ago?
Probably.
Brett, stop it. What's wrong with you?
Like, the mascot girl got up and left, but never mind. It's not worth it. We're in the home stretch.
Yes.
Not now.
Do you have a better way to celebrate?
Stop it. You're hurting me.
So out of nowhere, he just decides to get rapey.
Right.
What?
I can't find Bonnie.
The valiant hero. Now that I've killed a killer, and there are still like 2 witnesses around, yeah, now it's time to force myself on you.
I never should have left you alone with him. What are you talking about? Don't you see, Allison? He was just attacking you. Now I know that he was the one out there who was trying to kill me. No, Corey, that's not true. I wish it wasn't.
This kind of reminds me of like a horror movie that you would see on a TV in a horror movie.
Yeah, I can.
Come on.
Yeah, well, like the gangster movie in Home Alone.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like they're almost trying to be bad.
He's right around the corner. How do you know?
Yeah, almost trying, but just not quite. Like, there is a shred of earnestness to it, or I don't know if it's earnestness, maybe it's just, they're too incompetent to be intentionally bad.
Oh. Well, I mean, Betsy Russell, this wasn't her first rodeo.
No, but she was still... Again, let me go back to direction, that she was just all over the map in this one.
Yeah.
I think I had pegged the ending back when they were running through the forest back before the rotund guy filmed himself pissing and then got killed. And I remember going, they're not going to do it. They're not going to go that direction. And they sure did. Although, this ending is really, really, like, for as so off the wall and incoherent as the rest of the movie is, they stick the landing.
I think so.
A little bit shaky. I'll be okay. I'm really glad it's all over.
Gonna need a statement.
Because it did have the other part of the ending that I think is really notable is that she gets away with it. And I kept sitting here going, she's not going to get away with it. There's going to be a last minute twist. Something's going to pop. And it doesn't. And that's kind of bold.
Yeah.
She really didn't know what she wanted. I hope she gets all the help she needs.
And I've read reviews where people say that she does this all for no reason. I think her reason's pretty clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. I mean, it's a lot of overkill for a
Yeah.
simple reason.
Yeah.
But if she's crazy enough to kill, there's no such thing as a small reason. So
Right. Yeah. So it makes sense in a strange kind of way.
yeah.
And I do think her doing the cheer with Allison screaming her name in the ambulance is eerie. It's an eerie moment in a slasher movie without many eerie moments.
Yeah, and it's so tonally inconsistent with the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It's a dark ending for a movie that is never dark at any point.
No, not even when somebody gets killed with fucking hedge clippers.
And no one notices her. She's just sitting there in the cheerleader's outfit doing cheers.
So, and that weird laugh, it almost makes it look like Corey was that laugh was her.
Yeah, I can't figure out what that laugh was. I guess it's her, but it's distorted in a weird way.
No, I'm sticking with its their attempt at capitalizing on the success of Nightmare on Elm Street and the Freddy Krueger character.
Yeah, no, that
especially with the blades and the pom-poms and
even if the dreams never really add up to anything.
Right.
They try to give them this feeling of not only surrealness, but it feels like they're trying to hint at it being a premonition of some kind, and it never pays off.
If you look at the dreams in hindsight, it just really makes Allison look like she's crazy.
Yeah.
And it tries everything to show that she's not, and then it's with Corey this whole time. But by all accounts, because of these fucking weird ass dreams that she keeps having, the back of the ambulance is kind of where she belongs. So maybe she's not a murderess, but she still should be under psychiatric care. Because she might end up becoming one at some point. Maybe she did get committed and she was released for Cheerleader Camp 2. And she actually was the killer.
I mean,
that would have been good.
That would make sense.
I would have watched it. Oh, there's a laugh again. Oh my god. So I'm assuming you haven't warmed up at all.
No. This is still a remarkable mess. Maybe I could get some entertainment value out of it if I had 3 or 4 friends hanging around, maybe a pitcher of margaritas, and yeah, just that type of, hey, let's watch a shitty movie and riff on it. But I don't know. It is so all over the place and trying to be a horror comedy, but for me, it never succeeds at either.
No, and for a movie that's trying to be a horror comedy, the ending is pretty fucking serious.
Yeah, bleak. It is
very bleak.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you think of,
we're not laughing.
No, you think of other horror comedies, and I know this would precede a lot of the horror comedies that I'm about to list, but you think of Shaun of the Dead, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Final Girls, Happy Death Day, Freaky, even from what was the last year or the year before, stuff like that. Those end on an up note, or at least a way to laugh out. And this doesn't, man. This just, it ends and you go, oh, damn.
Well, it's nothing if not original in that the killer actually does get away. You really don't see that in a lot of these movies, or you didn't see them, especially at this time. That's, the whole point of the final girl is to defeat the killer and to triumph. But in this case, the final girl gets carted off to a sanitarium, and the killer ends up doing splits
in an essentially abandoned cheerleader camp.
There you go. Yes. Because she's the only one left.
Weird ass movie.
Yeah. Yes, I don't. I'm gonna say it does. It does not age well. No. I remember this was a USA Up All Night staple.
That doesn't surprise me.
I do remember it on there. I remember when I was old enough to actually watch USA Up All Night, they leaned more toward TNA comedies, and it was a lot of basically Skinamax movies with all of the sex cut out. So it was just a really, really shitty movie without anything that would bring the audience in generally. Because I remember Marilyn Chambers did a handful of those Skinamax movies in the 90s. They weren't hardcore. I remember she had one called Bedtime Stories, Bikini Bistro, and she did another one, New York Nights. And I remember they did play on USA Up All Night, and all the sex cut out.
So the movies were what, like 15 minutes long?
Well, it probably, but it didn't matter because you had Rhonda Shear doing skits in between commercials. So, or if you were particularly unlucky, you had Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh.
You don't remember him?
No, I remember Gilbert Gottfried. I didn't know that he subbed on USA.
No, he didn't sub. It was always Rhonda on Friday and him on Saturday.
God, what a downgrade. What a weird pivot. Buxom blonde kind of wannabe throwback to the pinup era to Gilbert Gottfried.
But Rhonda never took herself seriously. Rhonda knew exactly what she was doing.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not dissing Rhonda. It's just such an odd flex.
Yeah, but you go from somebody who was fun and bubbly and had skits sometimes with the actors from the actual movies. I remember Linnea Quigley was on a couple times. And then you would go to Saturday night and just like the short man squinting and screaming into the screen with jokes that were not funny. So yeah, I didn't watch it on Saturday very much, but I did watch it. I did watch Rhonda a lot. I
was more of a
Go
Joe
ahead.
Bob Briggs guy.
Oh, sure, of course. Well, of course. I don't think Joe Bob was on the weekends though, or maybe he was on Saturday, and he's who I watched instead of Gilbert.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Monster Vision was on Saturday, at least for the time. The times that I remember watching it was on Saturday. Well, not always. I take that back. Maybe it wasn't, because I remember watching a lot of Friday the 13th on Monster Vision, and I mean, granted, on TNT those things got chopped up to hell, but still, he would always do like 2 or 3 Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th, even though they would never be sequential. It would be like 2, 3, 7.
Well, whatever they had the rights to show. But before Monster Vision, he had the show on the movie channel. Joe Bob Goes to the Drive-In, and it wasn't as good. I mean, the movies weren't cut, but he only came in at the beginning and the end. And on Monster Vision, you got him at every commercial break. So
I thought
that was always more fun.
He's on Shudder, because I know that he's got, what is it, Joe Bob's Last Drive-In or something like that.
Something like that.
And I keep meaning to go watch it, but I just, when you got 100 movies on your watch list and it's always changing and it's always growing, it's like, okay, I can watch. I can watch Maniac Cop and it's hosted by Joe Bob Briggs, or I can go watch something I haven't seen before. Probably going to gravitate to the new thing.
I've never watched it, but from what I have heard, he does come in every now and again, like on Monster Vision, but the movies aren't cut. So you get that break every now and again with him, giving trivia about the movie. And it's really amazing over the course of these past few years, the resurgence he's had. I mean, like he's got more fans now than he's ever had because of Shudder. Yeah. And there's like 22-year-old kids who are talking about how much they love Joe Bob. And they weren't even born when Monster Vision was on.
I think it's just final. Like, it always struck me that Monster Vision was even on TNT. It was such an odd fit because TNT, and back in the 90s, it was We Know Drama, it was Law and Order reruns, it was 3 showings of Shawshank Redemption every week, wrestling on Mondays, and basketball on occasion. And then Monster Vision, which just stuck out like a sore thumb, that you have this guy playing a redneck character and he's telling you the kill count and how many boobs are in a movie that you can't see then in the first place. Mm-hmm. So it always just struck me like, why the hell is this on here and not on, say, Sci-Fi? Or
I think it would have suited better. Well,
or paying
TBS used to play horror movies every now and again. TBS really didn't have when they were the superstation. They didn't have a lot of original material. They would just play a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. And I think he would have been a good fit over there with the kinds of movies that they used to show.
More natural fit than TNT, definitely.
Yeah. But, yeah, and he's giving new life to a lot of older movies that people may not have seen, and encouraging people to check stuff out that they wouldn't know about otherwise. So
Yeah,
I think that's really cool.
I can't hate on him. I mean, I loved him back in the day, and I whatever's helping get obscure horror movies, any horror movies, in front of eyes that haven't seen it before, it's all good with us.
I sent him a fan letter when I was in high school, and he actually wrote me back. Hand wrote me back.
Neat.
Yeah, I told him how much I loved the show, and I asked him if he would play certain slasher movies that I thought would be a good fit for the show. And I remember him saying something like, that's a pretty decent list of flicks. I'll head up like HQ and we'll see what slithers down the wall.
That sounds like a Joe Bob reply.
Yeah, it was really cool. But on that note, any final thoughts on Cheerleader Camp? What a mess of a movie this was.
I can't believe I sat through it again.
I don't see myself sitting through it again for a while. To be honest with you,
this will be the last time that I sit through it. I cannot imagine it ever happening again. That was, and it wasn't traumatic. There are far, far worse movies in the world, but, whew, man, is that a dumb movie.
Well, it may be inept, but it's not anywhere near as inept as a Rob Zombie movie.
Agree to disagree on a couple of those.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you to Jed for joining me for this hot-ass mess known as Cheerleader Camp.
Thank you for having
me. I want to say
thank
you. Always a pleasure. And I want to say thanks to everybody for listening. And I hope you'll tune in again next week for the Blind Rage podcast. So until then, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.